Hello my fellow dirty gardeners, my name is Iron, Dirty Dragon. I had a neat idea today for a video, and that is how to introduce calm to your space. And so there are a number of ways that you can do this. It really depends on what your space is like and what you can work with. And so I'm going to show you some of the ways that I have employed these things in my garden. Some of them were here when we moved in, which was really awesome, and a couple of them I've introduced. So let's go for a bit of a tour. First one is water. The sound of running water specifically. Any space that you have that has the sound of running water in it is immediately going to calm you. It doesn't have to be big. It can be a very small little fountain that's got one of those little solar powered pumps, or it can be something like this. But the sound of running water just, it seems to soothe the soul. And I don't know if this is maybe an atavistic response to being around an element that is life-giving, something that we've needed since we were animals. And maybe that helps go into the cellular level. I don't know, but that would be my guess, because naturally anytime I, for example, am near running water, I feel a sense of peace. And so this is something that I would recommend. The next thing that I would introduce is rock. Strangely, I feel that it grounds a space very nicely. Very often as gardeners we have a lot of greenery and a lot of movement and a lot of color, and when we add rock, it kind of acts like an anchor, visual anchor, and brings the space a little bit more steadfastness. And it also provides a little bit of visual difference and a visual interest. That's Flower. Always trying to get into my videos. So I'm going to show you a garden bed that I have that actually was a trick for me to sort out for quite some time, because I had a lot of green stuff in there, and it never really felt, it felt very chaotic, and it felt like I couldn't really, couldn't find comfort when looking at it. And this is maybe because I'm an artist, I don't know. I have a very keen eye for composition and balance, and so I just found that it wasn't coming together and there was something wrong with it. And then someone suggested it needs rock, and they were right. And then that reminded me that any time that I've had difficulty with a space in a garden bed, I've added one of two things, either rock or wood. And wood is the next one. But I'm going to show you this garden bed now and show you, it's kind of a little past its prime, being in the middle of summer now, but I'm going to show you how the rock has helped to ground it. Okay, so here's the garden bed. Lots of vertical interest, lots of different shapes, and by putting this rock in the middle here, it gave a contrast in texture and also a really nice solid fixture to help anchor this whole entire bed. With greenery up front here, it felt just off balance somehow. And it's hard to explain unless you have a very keen awareness of energy and that kind of thing. And I know this sounds kind of hokey, but I'm a bit of a hippie, so I immediately felt calmer when I had that rock in there. It just anchored the whole thing. So the bed has a lot more appeal now as a whole. So you can use it a number of different ways. It doesn't have to be any particular form, it doesn't even have to be any particular feature, but rock in general, whether it's pea gravel or flagstone or blast rock or a single rock, all of that is just really, really good for grounding and offering a sense of peace in the garden. On to the next one. Okay, so in the last little section there, I also mentioned that wood is a really good way to ground a space and offer peace, like a calm sense. And so when I use wood, I've found that when I'm gardening and there's like a rough place where I can't seem to get any plant to work ever, no matter how many times I try swapping things out, I put a stump there. Great big old stump, and hot damn, I tell you, it just makes everything feel better. It just makes it, again, more grounded, but it's softer than rock. So it's good for woodland gardens, but like driftwood is also really, really beautiful for offering a sense of calm. This is my front yard. Here's another way to use wood, a wooden walkway. Wooden stepping stones, wooden decking, all of it feels welcoming and warm. It calms the space down. I just did this. I could have left it just with wood chips, but I decided to make a little raised bridge here because I think it's a little more interesting in the space. And it helps to ground it and make it feel a little more calm and a little less chaotic, because there's a lot going on in the front yard here. So that is one of my last examples of wood, I think, for my yard. Moving on to the next thing. Okay, so the last thing that I would recommend to offer a sense of calm, and this can be literally any type, but grasses. The more feathery and soft they are, the more calm it'll feel. If they're upright and stiff, it won't be as calm because it's much more formal feeling. But things like Mexican feathergrass, which are extremely airy and move really softly, and they catch the light and diffuse it kind of, that just adds such a wonderful sense of calm. And if you've ever stood by a field and seen the wind blowing in the grass, you get a sense of calm coming over you. And it's just the gentle movement, the way the light moves, it just feels relaxing. It's like one of those rhythms of nature, I guess, maybe, and grasses do that. I don't have very good examples of grasses in my yard because I don't have the kinds of conditions that they thrive in the best for that kind of airy grass, but I will show you a few different grasses that I grow, and just to add to the sense of calm, my neighbor has fired up his like 1940s whatever engine over there. Okay, moving on. I'm going to show you a few examples of the grasses I have. This is called golden hakone grass. It acts as a lower down softener of any garden border in part shade or shade. Another one that I have called Brisa maxima. And it's ornamental, quite prolifically invasive, or it self-seeds. It's very easy to move, but you can see here, like when the wind moves it, or me, a dragon, moves it. It looks quite appealing and soft. This is a good contrast here. The grass on the water. I think what grasses do is they offer kind of like a counterbalance to the heavier things. So if you think of, for example, a picture, and again it goes back to me being a photographer and an artist, you have the highlights and you have the shadows. And the shadows, the heavier parts, would be the rock and the wood, and the lighter part would be the grasses, the highlights, just because it's a soft, gentle, lighter energy when you add grasses to a garden. I'll show you one more that I have. Here's another one. It's a carex of some kind. I think it's maybe a glacier or something. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. But this whole bed is all things that are pretty upright, vertical interest, and so this one helped to bring it down and just soften the whole space. You can kind of get an impression of that when I go a little bit higher here. So the way to work in grasses so that they add more calm, not just balancing, but more calm, like you want your entire space to feel welcoming and gentle, is to have drifts of grasses. Plant a whole bunch of them all together so that when the wind blows, like it is right now, you get the movement, you get the light passing through it. It feels very soft and gentle, like walking on a prairie or something like that. If you have a stone pathway through it, that offers the sort of the grounding heaviness, and then the grasses are the light softness. So together, awesome, especially if you put all four of those things together. Imagine, for example, a bed that is lots of greenery, like you know, and grasses, and then you've got driftwood in there to kind of fill out some spaces that don't look so great with plants in them, and then you have a rock pathway, and then you have a water feature in the middle. Like, that's the four elements of calm that I've introduced anyway, right there. And to me, that would be like an epic place to just sit and relax. It just sounds so peaceful. Okay, so my garden does have peaceful elements, but it's not a garden that I would say is made for peace. It's made for color and texture and kind of boldness, because that's how I like it. But each of those elements is worked in its own place and offers that sort of balance and calm in the spaces that I couldn't do with plants. But if you are working on your own garden bed and you specifically want something that's really, really calm, think about those four things and maybe try and work in one or two or all. And I guarantee it's going to feel so calming and so relaxing and so peaceful. And if you have like an Adirondack chair or something out there and a glass of wine, just, all right, peace out.